I have never claimed to be the smartest member of the House of Representatives, although I don't think the competition is that stiff. But I am the most serious student of history in the United States Congress. Most of the decisions that I make are guided by my love of history and my reading of history. And so I want to just spend a few minutes weaving together a little bit of economic history with our current situation, which brings us to the future. We are facing some of the deepest and most complex economic challenges that we ever have in history. If you look at economic history in the United States, most deep recessions have been caused by a Wall Street meltdown, or a jobs meltdown, or a housing meltdown, or a capital meltdown, or a trade meltdown, or a deficit meltdown. In this case, we have had an all-inclusive menu of all of those things. This has been a convergence of crisis. There are 15 million Americans who want to work and can't find a job. 7 million of those 15 lost their jobs from 2000 to 2008. 750,000 of those 7 million lost their jobs in 1 month in 2009. And so you have got what some people say are the most challenging economic times in history. They are wrong, actually. We are living through one of the most challenging economic times in American history, but we have been here before. In fact, if you read or understand economic history in the United States, you should be comforted, and I know that's a strange word, but if precedent is a guide, you should be comforted by the fact that we have been here before, that every 2 or 3 generations the economy absolutely convulses. Jobs hemorrhage. The economists call it creative destruction, where the economy sheds jobs that are no longer necessary. Now that is difficult if you're one of the jobs that was shed. It's painful, it's convulsive. But it is a part of the economy. What every generation before us has figured out, and what we have to figure out is this: how do you replace the jobs that were lost? You can't just stand by and say, well, let those 15 million people fend for themselves. What every generation of Americans has always mustered the ability to do is identify the next generation of jobs that will replace the ones that were lost, go back to real growth, go back to lower unemployment, go back to shaving deficits. And we've got to do the same thing. I believe that the next generation of jobs to replace the 15 million that were lost in this economic recession, the so-called Great Recession, are green technologies, green jobs. And I want to make 2 other points to give you proof of my thesis. All I want you to do is get in your car after you leave here today and drive south on Route 110. That's it. Just drive south on Route 110, right here. And I want you to think about what Route 110 was like. What was the economy of Long Island? What was Route 110 going into World War II? It was nothing but potato fields and pumpkin farms. We lived in a rural and suburban economy on Long Island. And what happens? We go into World War II, and within a matter of years, we transform, literally transform, from potato fields and pumpkin farms to the defense capital of America. Right here on Route 110. What did we do? We realized that we had not just a national security crisis on our hands in Nazi Germany and fascism, but an economic crisis. We could not win World War II with a farm economy. And so we begin to shed farm jobs and replace them with other things. We organize, we mobilize, we research, we develop, we manufacture, we assemble, we build, we plan, we engineer. We build 2 universities, an airport. We build defense firms, Republic. We build research and development companies, engineering firms. We weld, we assemble, we're building weapon systems. We build all those things and lots of furniture stores. But think about it. Think about it. If you're going to have all of those other things, you got to have desks, which means you have to have somebody who can build the desk and assemble the desk, manufacture the desk, deliver the desk. And the desk delivery people decided on the way to deliver the desk they were hungry. And so we began building pizza places in retail malls. And that's how we created the defense capital of America. It was a multiplier. So coming out of World War II, suddenly we are no longer a farm economy, but the defense capital of the nation. Then something happens. World War II ends. And what do? It didn't make sense to continue manufacturing landing carrier vessels to storm Normandy, because we'd been there, done that. What do we do after that? We transform again. We become the aerospace capital of America. NASA did not land man on the moon, ladies and gentlemen. Long Islanders landed man on the moon from right here in this community. And so we've got to do it again. Now, you got to do two things if you're going to transform an economy. One is you need top-down investments. The federal government, in my view, has an obligation to not pay for everything, but be a catalyst, be a facilitator. You can't just create clean energy jobs out of nothing. The federal government has to show leadership in its procurement policies and also in its investment policies. In 1977, Jimmy Carter put on a cardigan sweater and declared the moral equivalent of war on our dependence on foreign oil. And do you know what the federal government has done since then until very recently? Two things since that war was declared. We slashed federal investments in research and development of renewable technologies by 87%. And we doubled our imports of foreign oil. How can you fight a war when you are slashing your arsenals by 87%? It can't be done. And so we need to plus up those top to bottom federal investments, meaning federal government makes those investments, puts them in the hands of entrepreneurs, innovators, and you do what you do best. You create jobs. Second thing you need is bottom-to-top investments. The three missing words in energy debate since Jimmy Carter gave that speech are return on investment. Until we can find a way to make it more affordable for this hotel to put solar panels on their roof, or use solar hot water heaters, or swap out energy inefficient windows for new R12 windows, we're not going to make any progress. And so we've got to find new techniques, new strategies to finance energy efficiency and renewable energy. Remember that great movie, Field of Dreams? If you build it, they will come. I have a take on that. If you finance it, Jack Coca will build. Next point. Jack Coca did build. You want proof that we can transform this economy? Jack Coca just built a retail office complex on Motor Parkway, down the street from my office. It has Solyndra solar panels. Solyndra is a huge solar manufacturer in California. They have developed a technology to create solar power, not by flat panels, but by tubular solar cells. And Jack Coca just installed those on the roof of the project that he built, which meant that Solyndra was able to hire people to manufacture those technologies. And whoever shipped those technologies had to hire somebody to do the shipping. And Coca got to hire somebody who could do the mounting. And they're going to need to hire somebody to do the maintenance. And that's how you create a job. Or just go to the LIE, go 2 exits to the Vico Corporation. Vico just added a couple of dozen new employees to do research, development, and manufacturing of LED technologies and machine tools for solar. So we're beginning to add those jobs. Now, very final point. I told you, you need top-down investment, you need bottom-up investment. This is a Sputnik moment, ladies and gentlemen. On January 31st, 2010, I was in California because I am on a mission to link Silicon Valley with Long Island. You cannot, no region of the world will beat a nexus between Silicon Valley and Long Island. It cannot be beaten. So I travel there, and I get Silicon Valley CEOs, like the CEO of Solyndra, and I showcase Long Island companies. And in fact, they're all coming up. They're coming here in a few months to begin a dialogue. And I woke up in my hotel, and even though I'm in San Francisco, I got to read the New York Times. And there on the front page was a Sputnik moment, only it didn't say Soviets beat Americans to outer space. It said China leading the race to make clean energy. Sputnik moment. China leading the race to make clean energy. And a few months later, my wife and I were having breakfast in our home in Dix Hills, and I open up the New York Times, April 13th, front page, Europe finds clean fuel in trash, U.S. sits back. U.S. sits back? When did that ever happen? China leads the race? Why would we allow that to happen? China is cleaning our clock right now on renewable technologies. They spend $10 billion a month investing in renewable technologies. We invented the solar panel, and then we shipped the idea to China. They manufactured them, and they sell our idea back to us at a nice markup. I refuse, and you should refuse, to be the first generation of Americans in history to sit back, take no for an answer. You need national willpower. You need to summon the willpower of the American people.